And pretty soon General Gavin came over and asked me, he said, would you boys like to make the big drop with us? And I said, sir, I don't know what you're talking about, big drop. I was playing it cool, of course. And he said, well, the invasion jump. And I said, well, when do we don't know anything about parachuting. And he said, well, we'll take care of that, don't worry. I said, when do we start? And he says, right now.
In England, General Dwight D. Eisenhower and his deputy commanders chart the liberation of a lost continent, plan when and where the mighty armies of the United Nations will strike. Today, northern France is that battleground.
At 150 pounds, Jim's weapons and camera equipment weighed as much as he did, and the weight of his equipment almost killed him during the invasion jump.
I was in the second plane of the invasion, actually. That's where General Gavin said I would be. Being the second man over, I looked down as I jumped, and I was right over the river, the canal, and went down into the canal, and it was over my head, and when I looked up, the air bell on the top of my helmet went glug, and I thought, oh, if I only had that much air in my lungs. Well, I was about to give it up, but fortunately, I realized I should try and slip to the rear at the time I jumped, because I could look down and see nothing but that canal, being probably 400 feet off the ground. So I was hanging on to my risers, and as I kept playing my chute, not realizing it under the water, I was frantically tugging on my risers. Why, a breeze come along and pulled me over to the opposite bank, to the bank that I didn't want to be on.
Jim was lucky to be alive, but his camera equipment was filled with water and useless after landing in the canal. Without his photography equipment, Jim focused on being a soldier for the first few days of the invasion.
In this early morning dawn, I was laying there and looking up at the sky, and this pink sky and the sunrise coming up, and I thought, my God, I've gone through all this training, and they sent me out to fight the war all by myself. That's how lonely you feel. And all at once, this voice rang out, now! And I looked up, and I was looking right down the machine gun of a command car. And I don't know why he never pulled the trigger to this day, but I had my gammon grenade ready, and I screamed down because of the concussion from those, just unmerciful. And all I did was scream down. I threw that at that command car, and it just riddled it. Everything just flew apart. They took that first group, but when they got through with them, there just wasn't anyone left. But evidently what it was an officer trying to get to St. Lo to headquarters to figure out what had happened, to report the fact that there was an invasion, but he never made it that far. No one in that column did.
So these were the first Germans that...
So that was there was a leg came down close to me that had been blown up, and it was like a frog leg. It was moving, and I jumped on it, and I said, lay still, darn you. And I don't know why I ever did that. It was nothing. It was just something that you'd never think that you would ever do. But it just did something that, to me, it just fired something inside of me.